God is saying to you, stop trying to fix IT. Just let me handle IT. There is a peculiar weariness that settles into the soul of a person who has tried for too long to be both the patient and the physician of their own life. It is the fatigue of one who has prayed with clenched fists, who has trusted with a furrowed brow, who has believed while secretly drafting backup plans in case belief should fail. Many of us have learned to speak the language of faith while still living, as though the final burden rests squarely on our own shoulders. We ask God for help, but we whisper instructions. We say we trust Him, yet we remain awake at night, rearranging tomorrow as if it were a puzzle that must be solved before morning. And in that quiet tension, in that unseen struggle between surrender and control, God speaks not loudly, not in accusation, but with the steady calm of one who sees the end from the beginning and says, "Stop trying to fix it. Just let me handle it." This instruction is not born of impatience with your efforts, nor is it a rebuke for caring too much. It is an invitation to rest in a wisdom that does not panic, a strength that does not hurry, and a love that does not falter when the situation appears irreparable. For there is a strange habit, the human heart, to believe that concern is the same thing as responsibility. Worry is proof of commitment, and that if we stop striving for a moment, everything will surely collapse. Yet the truth, quietly woven through every page of Scripture and echoed in the lives of countless saints, is that God does His best work not when we are strongest, but when we finally step aside. Consider how often we exhaust ourselves attempting to repair what we cannot fully understand. We tug at tangled threads without seeing the pattern they belong to. We apply solutions to symptoms while the deeper purpose remains hidden. And when our efforts fail, as they so often do, we assume the failure belongs to us entirely. But what if the very thing that will heal you, transform you, or deliver you is not another strategy, another conversation, another sleepless night of analysis? What if the turning point is obedience in stillness rather than effort in motion? What if God is not waiting for you to try harder, but to trust deeper? There is a humility required to stop fixing what feels broken. It demands that we admit our vision is partial, our strength limited, and our timing flawed. It asks us to believe that God is not merely a last resort when our plans fall apart, but the original author of the story itself. When He says, "Let me handle it," He is not asking you to abandon responsibility, but to release the illusion that you were ever meant to carry the weight of outcomes alone. He is asking you to exchange your restless control for His steady guidance. You see, much of our anxiety comes not from the situation itself, but from the pressure we place upon ourselves to resolve it immediately. We live in an age that worships solutions, prizes efficiency, and fears delay. Waiting feels like failure, and not knowing feels like weakness. Yet God operates on a different economy altogether. He is not bound by urgency, nor intimidated by complexity. He is not threatened by your unanswered questions, and He does not require your constant intervention to keep His plans intact. When He asks you to step back, it is because He sees that your interference, though well-intentioned, is preventing the very peace you are praying for. There is also a deeper mercy hidden in this call to surrender. For when you stop trying to fix everything, you are finally free to be human again. Free to feel without immediately solving. Free to grieve without rushing to replace what was lost. Free to hope without demanding proof on your own timetable. God knows the toll that constant striving takes on the heart. He knows how fear disguises itself as productivity and how control masquerades as wisdom. And so He gently interrupts your frantic effort with a truth both unsettling and relieving. You were never meant to be your own savior. Think of how many times you have looked back on a past crisis and realized that what truly carried you through was not your careful planning, but a door you did not see coming, a strength you did not know you had, or a grace that arrived precisely when you were out of options. In those moments, God was already handling it, even while you were busy trying to. And if He was faithful then, what has changed now except the scale of your fear? To let God handle it is not to become passive or indifferent. It is to become attentive in a different way. It is to listen rather than rush, to pray rather than panic, to obey rather than manipulate outcome. It means doing what is yours to do today, honestly, faithfully, and with love, while leaving tomorrow in hands far more capable than your own. This kind of trust does not come naturally. It must be practiced, often painfully, as you loosen your grip on expectations and learn to sit with uncertainty without fleeing into frantic action. There will be moments when letting go feels irresponsible, even dangerous. The voice of fear will insist that if you stop managing every detail, something terrible will happen. Yet this voice has no memory of God's past faithfulness and no imagination for his future provision. God, on the other hand, speaks from eternity into your present moment. He sees not only what you fear losing, but what you stand to gain by surrendering it. Peace, clarity, and renewed strength are not rewards for perfect control, but gifts that follow genuine trust. Often, God allows situations to remain unresolved longer than we would like because he is working not only on the problem, but on the person praying about it. While you are asking him to change the circumstances, he is shaping your character, deepening your faith, and teaching you to rely on him in ways comfort never could. If he were to fix everything the moment you asked, you might miss the transformation that only waiting can produce. And so, in his wisdom, he says, be still, not as a command to do nothing, but as an invitation to become someone new. There is a quiet courage in choosing to rest when everything in you wants to react. It is the courage of one who believes that God is not only present in the outcome, but in the waiting itself. When you stop trying to fix what you cannot control, you make space for God to move in ways you could never orchestrate. You allow him to work beyond your understanding, beyond your limitations, and beyond your fears. And in that space, faith grows not as a feeling, but as a settled confidence that you are not alone in this. You may not feel ready to release the burden yet. You may still rehearse the problem in your mind, still plan conversation that may never happen, still brace yourself for outcomes you dread. That is part of being human. But even here, God's patience remains. He does not demand instant surrender, only honest steps toward trust. Each time you choose prayer over panic, rest over rumination, and obedience over obsession, you are learning the language of reliance. Remember that God's ability to handle your situation does not depend on your ability to understand it. He is not waiting for you to explain the problem correctly or to reach the right emotional state before he acts. He already knows what you need when you need it and how best to provide it. Your role is not to manage the universe, but to walk faithfully within it. And sometimes the most faithful step you can take is to stop striving and simply say, I trust you even now. When you finally allow God to handle what you have been carrying, you may be surprised at how light your spirit begins to feel, even before the circumstances change. For peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of trust. It is the quiet assurance that no matter how uncertain the path ahead may seem, you are being guided by one who does not lose his way. And as this trust deepens, you will begin to notice subtle shifts, new perspectives, unexpected opportunities, and a resilience that does not come from effort, but from rest. This is not a promise that everything will resolve exactly as you imagine, or on the schedule you prefer. It is something far better, the promise that God's handling of your life will be wiser, kinder, and more complete than anything you could achieve on your own. When he asks you to step back, it is because he intends to step forward. When he asks you to be still, it is because he is already at work. And when he says, let me handle it, he is offering not just a solution, but a relationship rooted in trust, sustained by grace and strengthened through every season of uncertainty, even as you continue to learn what it truly means to let go and remain attentive to the quiet way in which his guidance unfolds, often unnoticed at first, yet steadily shaping the path before you, inviting you to walk not in fear of what might go wrong, but in confidence that whatever comes next will be met by a faith that is no longer frantic, a hope that is no longer forced, and a heart that is slowly discovering the freedom found in surrender rather than strain, as the lesson deepens and the journey continues without yet revealing its final turn. And it is often in that slow discovery that the deepest healing takes place, because the soul learns something the mind resists for a long time, that safety does not come from control, but from companionship. When God asks you to stop fixing and start trusting, he is not removing himself from your struggle. He is inviting you to notice that he has been there all along. The loneliness you feel in the waiting is not proof of his absence, but evidence of how accustomed you have become to carrying burdens in silence. God does not ask you to let go so that you may fall, but so that you may finally lean. There is a strange fear that rises when we consider surrender, as though releasing our grip will somehow diminish our importance. We fear becoming irrelevant to our own lives, spectators rather than participants. Yet God never reduces the role of the one who trusts Him. He refines it. He frees you from frantic overfunctioning, so that you can act from wisdom rather than desperation. He does not call you to inactivity, but to alignment. When your actions flow from trust instead of fear, they become lighter, truer, and more effective, even if they appear smaller. On the surface, you see, much of what exhausts us is not the work itself, but the belief that everything depends on us. This belief is in quietly, often disguised as responsibility or maturity. We tell ourselves that no one else will handle it properly, that if we do not intervene, things will fall apart. And yet, how many times has God gently proven that His way unfolds even when our plans collapse? How often has He shown that what we thought was essential was actually a distraction from what truly mattered? When God says, "Let me handle it," He is also teaching you about timing. Human timing is driven by urgency, by the fear of loss, by the pressure to act before something slips beyond reach. Divine timing, however, is governed by readiness. God waits not because He is indifferent, but because He is intentional. He knows when hearts are prepared, when circumstances align, and when the lesson will be received rather than resisted. In His patience, there is purpose, even when it feels like delay. It may help to remember that God's silence is not the same as His absence. Silence can be a form of trust, an unspoken assurance that the work being done does not require commentary. Just as a skilled craftsman does not pause to explain every cut and measurement, God often works quietly, shaping outcomes beneath the surface while you wonder if anything is happening at all. And it is precisely here, in the quiet stretch between prayer and fulfillment, that faith either grows, roots, or withers into anxiety. The invitation to stop fixing is also an invitation to listen, not merely to words, but to the movements of your own heart. When you are no longer consumed with controlling outcomes, you begin to notice what God is revealing about you. Old fears surface, hidden motives come into view, and long-standing wounds ask to be acknowledged rather than ignored. God handles situations, yes, but He also tends souls. He heals what you have normalized as broken and restores what you assumed was permanently lost. There is grace even in your struggle to surrender. God is not standing over you with a ledger, marking down every moment you lapse back into worry. He understands how deeply ingrained your habits of control have become. He knows that learning to trust Him fully is not a single decision, but 1,000 small choices repeated daily. Each time you catch yourself trying to manage what you have already prayed about, you are given another opportunity to practice release. And every time you choose release, even imperfectly, you grow stronger in faith. You might notice that when you begin to let God handle things, others may not understand your calm. They may interpret your peace as avoidance or passivity. But peace rooted in trust is not indifference. It is discernment. It knows when to act and when to wait. It understands that not every battle is yours to fight, and not every silence requires explanation. Jesus Himself often withdrew when the crowds demanded immediate answers, not because He lacked compassion, but because He knew the source of His strength. There is also a subtle joy that emerges when you stop trying to fix everything. It is the joy of realizing that life is not a test you must constantly pass, but a journey you are allowed to walk with help. Laughter returns more easily. Gratitude becomes less forced. You begin to see blessings not as rewards for effort, but as signs of care. Even challenges take on a different shape, no longer threats to your stability, but opportunities to deepen your reliance on God. It is important to understand that letting God handle it does not guarantee comfort at every turn. Sometimes His handling involves pruning, redirection, or letting go of what you wanted so that you can receive what you truly need. Trusting Him means accepting that His definition of good may differ from yours, yet believing that it is always rooted in love. This kind of trust matures slowly, often through disappointment, as expectations are refined and faith is purified. There will be days when you feel the old urge to take control again, when uncertainty presses hard against your resolve. On those days, remember that trust is not a feeling you wait for, but a choice you make. You choose to pray instead of panic, to rest instead of rehearse worst-case scenario, to obey the next small instruction rather than demand the full plan. These choices, though quiet and uncelebrated, shape the direction of your life more than any grand gesture ever could. God's handling of your life is comprehensive in a way your efforts can never be. He considers not only the immediate outcome, but the long-term impact on your heart, your relationships, and your calling. What you see as a problem to be solved, He sees as a chapter in a much larger story. And while you focus on the discomfort of the present moment, He is already preparing the strength you will need for what lies ahead. As you continue to practice this surrender, you may find that some things you once desperately tried to fix no longer hold the same power over you. Their urgency fades, their grip loosens, and their presence becomes less defining. This does not mean the issues disappear overnight, but that they no longer dominate your inner world. God's peace begins to guard your thoughts, not by removing every challenge, but by reminding you who is ultimately in control. It is worth noting that God's instruction to let Him handle it often comes with a call to obedience in unexpected areas. He may ask you to forgive when you would rather defend, to rest when you would rather strive, or to speak truth when silence feels safer. These acts of obedience are not attempts to fix the situation, but responses to His guidance. They position you to receive what He's doing rather than interfere with it. The more you trust God with outcomes, the more present you become in the moment. You listen better, love more freely, and respond with greater clarity. Anxiety, which thrives on imagined futures, loses its influence when you anchor yourself in the now. God meets you in the present, not in the endless projections of what might go wrong. And as you learn to dwell where He is, rather than where fear leads you, life begins to feel more grounded and less frantic. You may still carry questions that have no immediate answers. Trust does not erase mystery. It teaches you how to live with it. Faith grows not by eliminating uncertainty, but by choosing confidence in God despite it. When you stop trying to fix what you cannot fully understand, you make room for wonder, for humility, and for a deeper reverence for the ways God works beyond your comprehension. Over time, this posture of trust reshapes your prayers. They become less about persuading God to act, and more about aligning yourself with His will. You begin to pray with open hands rather than clenched fists. Ask not only for solutions, but for wisdom, patience, and endurance. And in this shift, prayer becomes less of a transaction and more of a conversation, less of a demand and more of a communion. God's desire for you is not that you live a life free of challenges, but that you live a life free of the crushing belief that you must face them alone. When He invites you to let Him handle it, He is extending an offer of partnership rooted in trust. He takes responsibility for what only He can do, while teaching you to walk faithfully in what has been entrusted to you. As this understanding deepens, you may notice a gentler rhythm emerging in your life. Decisions are made with prayer rather than pressure. Rest is valued not as a reward for productivity, but as a necessity for clarity. Even failure loses some of its sting, because you no longer see it as the end of the story, but as part of a process overseen by grace. And so the journey continues, not marked by the absence of struggle, but by the presence of trust. Each day offers new opportunities to release what you cannot control and to receive what God is providing. Each moment becomes an invitation to choose faith over fear, rest over resistance, and surrender over strain, as you learn slowly, and sometimes painfully, that the hands holding your life are steadier than your own, and that the story unfolding before you is being written with a wisdom that far exceeds your understanding, even as you walk forward without seeing the full picture, yet finding the courage to continue trusting, continuing to release, continuing to listen, and continuing to believe that God's handling of your life is still in motion, still purposeful, still unfolding in ways that will reveal themselves in time, though not yet, not fully, and not all at once, as the lesson presses deeper and the path stretches onward, inviting you to remain attentive, receptive, and willing to stay in this place of trust a little longer. In this continued willingness to remain, something subtle but profound begins to happen within you, something that cannot be forced and cannot be rushed. You start to notice that your reactions soften before your circumstances change. The sharp edge of fear dulls, not because the threat is gone, but because your confidence in God's presence grows sturdier than the fear itself. You may still face the same unanswered questions, the same unresolved tension, yet they no longer dictate the atmosphere of your inner life. Trust, once fragile and tentative, begins to take root as a quiet but resilient posture of the heart. You realize then that much of what once felt urgent was fueled by the belief that delay equals disaster. But God dismantles the belief gently, allowing you to see that delay can also be development. In the waiting, patience is strengthened. In the uncertainty, humility is refined. In the pause, your dependence on God deepens in ways constant motion never could. He is not wasting this season, even if it feels unproductive by human standards. He is shaping something enduring, something that will sustain you long after the current challenge has passed. There is also a growing awareness that God's care is not sporadic or reactive. He does not step in only when you finally lose control. He has been sustaining you quietly through every step, even when you believed you were holding everything together on your own. Every breath you take, every moment you endure, every small strength that rises when you thought you had none left is evidence of a grace already at work. Letting God handle it does not invite Him into the situation for the first time. It simply allows you to recognize His presence more fully. As you remain in this posture, you may begin to grieve the years spent striving under unnecessary weight, not with bitterness, but with tenderness. You see now how often you confused exhaustion with faithfulness, how frequently you equated suffering with significance. God does not scold you for this misunderstanding. Instead, He redeems it, using even your past striving as a lesson that points you toward a gentler way forward. Nothing is wasted, not even the seasons when you tried to carry what was never yours to bear. It becomes clearer that surrender is not something you achieve once and then move beyond. It is a daily rhythm, sometimes a moment-by-moment decision. Some days you release easily, feeling the relief almost immediately. Other days your hands ache as you loosen your grip and peace feels distant. Both days are part of the journey. God does not measure your faith by how calm you feel, but by how often you return to trust, even when your emotions lag behind your choices. You also begin to see how letting God handle things reshapes your relationships. When you are no longer driven by fear of outcomes, you stop manipulating conversation, stop rehearsing defenses, stop trying to control how others respond. You listen more deeply. You speak more honestly. You allow space for others to be imperfect without rushing to fix them. This, too, is part of God's handling, teaching you to love without managing and to care without controlling. In moments of quiet reflection, you may sense God reminding you that His strength is not diminished by your weakness. In fact, it is often displayed most clearly there. Where you once hid your limitations, you now begin to acknowledge them without shame. You understand that admitting you cannot fix everything is not a failure of faith, but a confession of trust. It is an act of truthfulness that aligns you more closely with the reality of who God is and who you are not. There is a growing stillness that settles into your prayers. They become less frantic, less crowded with demands, and more spacious. Silence no longer feels empty or threatening. It becomes a place of communion, a place where you rest in God's presence without needing constant reassurance. You learn that being heard does not always require being answered immediately, and that being loved does not depend on constant proof. As time unfolds, you may notice that God's handling of your situation often involves unexpected routes. Solutions arrive from directions you never considered. Doors open quietly rather than dramatically. Strength appears gradually rather than all at once. This can be unsettling at first, especially if you were expecting clarity to arrive like a sudden revelation. But God often prefers to guide you step by step, not because He withholds direction, but because walking closely with Him matters more than knowing the entire path. You begin to trust that if something truly requires your action, God will make it clear. The burden of constant vigilance lifts. You no longer feel compelled to scan every horizon for potential threats or missed opportunities. Instead, you learn to pay attention to the present moment, trusting that God's guidance will meet you there. This attentiveness is not passive, it is alert without being anxious, responsive without being reactive. There are still moments when old patterns resurface, and you catch yourself slipping back into worry or control. But now, instead of spiraling into self-criticism, you recognize these moments as invitations to pause, to pray, to remember. Each return to trust strengthens the habit of surrender, making it more natural, more instinctive over time. God's patience with you teaches you to be patient with yourself. You may also discover that letting God handle things brings a deeper awareness of gratitude. When outcomes are no longer seen as trophies of your effort, they are received as gifts. Gratitude replaces pride, and humility replaces entitlement. Even small blessings feel significant because you recognize them as expressions of care rather than rewards earned. This shift changes the texture of your joy, making it quieter but more enduring. God's handling often includes moments of correction, not harsh or condemning, but clarifying. He may gently redirect your focus, reveal attachments that have become unhealthy, or challenge assumptions that limit your faith. These moments are not punishments, but refinements. They align you more closely with truth, freeing you from burdens you did not realize you were carrying. Trust deepens not by avoiding correction, but by receiving it as an act of love. Over time, you begin to sense that the peace God offers is not dependent on resolution. You can hold unanswered questions without feeling threatened by them. You can live with intention without being consumed by it. This peace does not deny reality. It anchors you within it. It allows you to face difficulty honestly while remaining grounded in hope. Such peace is not fragile because it does not rely on circumstances behaving predictably. You might find yourself reflecting on how differently you view your future now. Where once you demanded certainty, you now value faithfulness. Where once you feared the unknown, you now approach it with cautious trust. You understand that God's faithfulness in the past is not diminished by your uncertainty about what lies ahead. The same hands that carried you before will carry you still, even if the terrain changes. Letting God handle it also teaches you to respect your own limits. You rest when you are weary, not as an act of indulgence, but as an act of obedience. You say no when necessary, recognizing that overextension often masquerades as devotion. God's handling includes teaching you to steward your energy wisely, honoring the body and mind He has given you rather than treating them as expendable resources. In this way, surrender becomes woven into the fabric of everyday life. It is present in how you respond to disappointment, how you approach decisions, how you measure success. You begin to see that faithfulness is not about rolling outcomes, but about remaining aligned with God's presence through them. This alignment brings a steadiness that does not fluctuate wildly with circumstances, but remains anchored in something deeper. As the days continue, you may notice that the question is no longer whether God will handle it, but whether you will continue to let Him. Trust matures as you choose again and again to release what you cannot control. Each release strengthens your confidence that you are not abandoned in the letting go. On the contrary, you are being held more securely than before. There is a quiet confidence that grows from this understanding, not loud or self-assured, but grounded. It does not announce itself or seek validation. It simply rests in the knowledge that whatever unfolds next will not catch God unprepared. And because of that, it no longer needs to leave you undone. You may not know how the story will resolve, but you know who is writing it. So you continue forward, not rushing, not retreating, but walking steadily. You remain open, receptive, attentive. You allow God to work in ways you do not yet see, trusting that clarity will come when it is needed. You stay in this place of learning, this place of release, this place of trust, allowing the lesson to deepen and the journey to stretch on, without demanding a conclusion, without forcing an ending, remaining willing to walk with God a little longer, still listening, still trusting, still letting go as the path unfolds. Beyond what is visible now, inviting you onward into what has not yet been revealed. And so, as all the striving quiets and the noise within you finally softens, you come to understand that this was never about giving up, but about giving over. You were not asked to abandon care, but to abandon the belief that everything depended on your hands alone. In letting God handle it, you did not lose yourself. You found your true place secure, seen and sustained. What once felt fragile is now held by strength greater than your own, and what once felt uncertain is now entrusted to faith. You may not yet see how every thread will be woven together, but you no longer need to. It is enough to know that God is at work where you cannot see, faithful where you feel weak, and present where you once felt alone. And in this surrender, Deeper than answers and stronger than certainty, you discover a peace that does not come from having everything resolved, but from knowing without doubt that your life is safely resting in the hands of God.